it's Robin from Cookie Spooky Costumes. We're going to sew on some extra large snaps. So I'm going to show you some of the materials that I'm going to use, and this might be a little bit long video, but I'll post it on my YouTube too. Okay, get this situated. I'm going to use red, black, and white. I've got 3 different roughs that we're working on in the Pennywise family. And you're probably used to seeing little snaps like this. I rarely use these. I bought these for a particular project and I decided not to use them. I get the extra large metal snaps, and these are about, they're not quite an inch. I think they're 3/4 inch. They're metal, very durable, and they're very strong. They work really well on haunt costumes because we all know how rough that haunt acting can be on costumes. So we're going to lay these out. So like I said, I've got 3 different roughs. We're going to put snaps on them. Now, on the Pennywise style rough, we call it that, I do 3 layers of gathering, and I put a snap closure. Now, on a regular clown rough, I do a little bit different. So when I make my next clown, which will be in a few weeks, I'll talk about that too. So, these all laid out. So we need to have all the bottoms, which is this, that's kind of rounded, and the little dipple goes in, like the little belly button goes in. Those are going to be the bottom. You want to have your flat part of it, call it the flat part of it, with the much thinner part that has the little nipple there. So we'll lay those all out, get those ready, so we can grab the right one when we go to sew. Now we're going to start with the white. So recommendation for snaps for buttons, I recommend that you get the button and craft thread. Now, I've talked about this in a video a long time ago. This thread has kind of a little bit of a wax coating on it. It helps keep the button or the snap on it without coming out so easily. It's also thicker, so you might need to get a needle like this one. You see it has a bigger hole. Now there's a downside to getting too big of a needle too, because if your fabric is very dense, you're going to have a hard time getting the needle through. So you have to kind of find that middle ground where your needle's not too thick, but you can still get the thread through the eye of the needle. I have found that with the standard needle like I use for regular hand sewing, sometimes you just can't get this thread through. So we're going to start out, we're going to do, and it twists really easily, so you don't want to have a super long piece to start. So we're going to go roughly about 8 inches or so, and you see I doubled it up here. You want really sharp scissors or snips. Thread it. I always thread coming up instead of down. It's just, I see it better. If you have really bad issues, this is actually better with the big eye because you won't have as much trouble threading it. You can use a needle threader. Have trouble, and I like to actually use the Serger needle threaders. And what you do, this is a little tiny wire loop here. You put that through the eye of the needle, and then this wire loop is much bigger, so you can put the thread through, and then you pull it through, so then your needle's threaded. And I actually use these for my sewing machines too. I like the long handle with it; it makes it a lot easier. You can buy the little short ones; they work. But this is my favorite, and I go through a lot of them. Okay, so we're going to even up these ends, and we're going to knot, and it may take you a few times if you're just learning. You're going to tie one knot, at least 2, so you want that big knot so they won't go through the fabric, and I like to use a thimble always. Some people don't. I didn't for a long time, but then I realized how much easier it is to push a needle through with a thimble on your finger. I use the plastic ones because I'm allergic to nickel, and a lot of times the cheaper, supposedly metal ones have nickel in them, and it causes me a lot of problems. So I use the plastic ones. Okay, so we've got our snaps started. We're gonna start with the white ruffle. And there's some extra threads on here, so we'll go ahead and snip those off. That was just from sewing. Okay, so the way I've made this is I've left an extra flap, and we're going to match these up so that the bottom snap's going to be on the flap and the top snap's going to be on the underside of this. So end up looking like this. And this will go in the back. And obviously this will all be covered up because these flaps come down, or the ruffle comes down. So we're going to start with the bottoms. And there is a little trick to lining them up too, so I'll show you that too. So we're going to just eyeball the center in between. And you can get real precise and measure it. I happen to know kind of where I want to put it. Now here's the part we're going to have a little bit of trouble seeing. So what you want to do with these snaps, I've got it positioned kind of with my finger, I'm holding on. It's really hard to pin these or anything, so the first time you're just going to have to kind of hold it once you get it going. We're going to put the needle into the fabric, and we're going to come up through that first hole. And then we're going to go back down. Now, if you're just learning how to sew, it may be easier for you to go all the way through the fabric and then come back up. If you've done a lot of sewing before, you can kind of just catch that, and you have to figure out how to get back up through the hole. That's going to be your hardest part. So we're going to pull up, and we're going to do that 3 times in each hole, each snap hole. And we're going to pull it tight. Okay, so we've done one. So the next one is a little trickier. Now if you want it to be even, what you want to do is you want to come back where you've got the thread, and you're going to kind of weasel that needle through till you find the next hole to come up. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go 3 all the way around, and then when we get to the end, we're going to knot off the thread, and we may have to re-thread this because, like I said, I didn't want too long of a thread because it twists up on us, and we may just have to re-thread the needle and get some more thread on there to finish it out. Okay, so we're going to pretend that we finished this because it's going to be the same for all the different colors, for the red, the black. We're going to do it exactly the same. We're going to do 3 stitches in and then move to the next hole till we get all the way around. And then to knot, you can leave a loop, put the needle back through, and you can do that a couple of times. With this thread, it will stay pretty much, but regular thread may not always do it. Or you can just do 3 really small stitches till it's tight at the end, and we'll snip that off. Okay, so now we're going to pretend that we've done this and we've done the next one too. I'm going to show you how to line up the top snap so there would actually be the right place to put it, because it's real easy to get 2 snaps on and then you get them off center and then it doesn't snap correctly. So I have some tailor's chalk. I'm going to use this yellow. It'll show up without making too much of a mess for us. what you're gonna do, I kind of like the blue better, but I don't have any in right here. We're gonna take that chalk and we're gonna just put it on the little nipple there. It would have been easier to do the bottom, so I'll show you how that would have worked. So what we want to do is bring it over and we would press down, and you see where we've got the indentation, that's where we're going to center that snap. So you would have to, we'll have to pretend. And we already had this sewed on. It's usually easier, I think, and I probably should have started that way, with doing the ones with the nipple first, then we can mark where we want to snap them together and then sew them and stitch them. So that's how you sew on a snap. And buttons are similar, but I'll show you buttons next time. But anyway, hope you got a little bit of a lesson, and I'll show you finished products when we're done. Bye.